Good morning. Welcome to the Pat McAfee Show here live in New York City, New York. It is Monday, October 14th, 10:01 Eastern Standard, 7:01 Pacific Time, which we will be venturing to this week as we travel to Palo Alto and San Francisco for the UCLA-Stanford game. Yesterday was another riveting Sunday in the NFL. Today is another beautiful overreaction Monday. Are the Jets going to be undefeated from here on out? Sam Darnold looks like a whiz kid. How do you have mono and become better at football? We'll dive deep into that. The Cowboys stink. Jason Garrett's got to get fired, but that's not going to happen because he and Jerry Jones are so tight. Probably because Jerry Jones is making all the decisions, and if you fire Jason Garrett comes out and says, well, I can't do anything because Jerry Jones tells me everything. Then Jerry looks bad. Ipso facto, the team's still just below average. Dak Prescott seems to have lost hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. The Kansas City Chiefs, have they been stumped? Has the Andy Reid Kansas City Chiefs offense been completely stumped by Matt Patricia, then the Indianapolis Colts, and now the Houston Texans? The AFC South is a two-horse race between the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis Colts still undefeated in the last week. Did not lose yesterday, made no mistakes. Still NFL's Super Bowl favorites in my eyes. The Rams are dead. The Niners are hot. The Steelers have a duck playing quarterback who's undefeated, especially in primetime games. Is Phillip Rivers' best days behind him? We'll dive into that and more. The refs stink. And this is Monday, Overreaction Monday. Evan Foxy, play some Chase Rice.
It's the perfect occasion for a little vacation from the heart of the nation. Out of your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much, Chase Rice. Joining me in studio is at Ty Schmidt. His Yankees got bombed on in the 11th inning, but the Packers go to bat tonight. How you feeling, Ty?
I'm feeling pretty good. Nothing I love more than Overreaction Monday. So, yeah, last night was kind of tough, but I'm ready to dive in today.
Yeah, Packers are probably going to prove that they're the Super Bowl contenders in the NFC. Not if Matt Patricia has anything to say about it with the Detroit Lions. The last time the Lions went into Lambeau, it was a 31-0 shellacking that I was on the call for. Aaron Rodgers got hurt in the second play, so that doesn't really indicate the game, but that's neither here nor there. It's a big one on Monday night as opposed to the dud fest it has been the past couple weeks. Evan Foxy's back in the control room directing people who have much higher intelligence levels and many more degrees and have been around much longer. Foxy, how do you feel about the Lions tonight?
I feel pretty good. They won 4 in a row. Tonight would make 5. Gotta do it, man. Gotta do it. Also, week 6 in the city. Look at us.
Hey, look at us. Riveting take there on the Lions, Foxy. I appreciate you doing
Pat,
that.
I'm directing people like you said. I wasn't ready for a hot take right there.
Yeah, 1-833-622-3331 is the phone lines. At Viva Lazito, who was his birthday last week. Happy birthday, Zito. The Bears were off. He went back home. Zito, how are you feeling this beautiful Monday? Oh, you couldn't hear him right there. He's only speaking in my ear.
I did not hear him, no.
He can't speak publicly. Probably for the betterment of the show. Calling in for good friend of the show, a man who was a part of a team who has been 2-0 in the last 2 weeks. When they looked awful to begin with, he had to wait 4 weeks to call into the show. One of my good friends joining us, AQ Shipley. How are you feeling out there in the desert of Arizona?
2 wins, 2 calls, baby. I love this. This is a good day.
The first couple of weeks of the season was not great for the Arizona Cardinals. You guys had a tie, then some losses. Your offense looked terrible in preseason. You guys said it's just vanilla in preseason and got to the regular season, still didn't look good. It seems like you guys are potentially hitting your stride right now, and Kyler Murray looks like an entirely new quarterback these last couple of weeks.
Man, he's been playing incredible. And let me tell you, the offense, we got things rolling right now, which is really, really, really good. And, as a team, we're starting to put some things together. We're starting to move forward. I think we're going to be undefeated the rest of the year. I think that's the way this thing goes, right?
Overreaction Monday. I don't think the Cardinals are ever going to lose. Tell that baby back there to shut up.
We're just making it part of the show.
The NFC West. If you guys get hot, you're going to have to run into a buzzsaw that is the San Francisco 49ers right now, and the Seahawks are great. How do you feel about the division?
That's a really tough division. I mean, I think it's the best division in football right now. I think San Fran is a buzzsaw. I think the LA Rams are still a very, very, very good football team. I know they've had a couple losses. Seattle Seahawks, as hot as any team in the league right now. We got a very, 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 very tough division. But like I said, overreaction Monday. We're moving forward. We're moving towards undefeated the rest of the year. We're going to roll. We're going to keep this thing rolling.
Hey, Q, you're an incredible leader over there. When you bend over in front of quarterbacks, good things normally happen. Speaking of bending over and kind of taking one right in the ass, did you hear about Dave Peterson from the Penn State alum writing the letter into the locker room last week? How did you feel as another Penn State alum?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all feel the same way. The guy's obviously a horrible human being, I think. To make that statement, to make that letter, to send it. First of all, is that what that guy's doing in his free time? Like, that's pretty ridiculous, right? I mean, at the end of the day. But I think James Franklin and the Penn State team, I think, handled it with extreme class. Obviously, the players wanted to make a statement. I think he did the right thing by kind of having them take the shirts off at Iowa last week. And I think Kirk Herbstreit said it, and I think he said it best. I mean, if that team wasn't already close, they're only going to grow closer together due to this whole thing. Usually times like that and things like that, when horrible people do horrible things, it brings teams closer together.
Did you ever get anything for that terrible barbed wire tattoo you had there before you got a lot of work done?
No, I didn't, but he mentioned something about that too, so he's obviously speaking to me too, right?
Yeah, I think you might have been the one that ticked him off there at the beginning with that barbed wire tattoo.
That was the start for sure.
Hey, Q, incredibly happy for your success over there. Thank you for calling in. Good luck to the Cardinals the rest of the way. Tell everybody I said hello, will you?
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, man. The Arizona Cardinals did get 2 wins. Kyler Murray, first pick overall. They looked to be getting things together, but that NFC West with the Seattle Seahawks, especially whenever they walked into Cleveland and did what they did. Last week, I was yelling from every mountaintop that I possibly could on FanDuel's website. They had the Seahawks -1, I think, or even +1. It was 1 point spread either way, and the over-under was at 47. I knew it was going to be clear skies over there in Cleveland, and for some reason, that just felt like that was weird. Diggs, our degenerate friend, was like, Vegas knows something. There's a reason that this line is the way it is. Instead, I took the trap, I took the bait, and I was like, Seattle Seahawks are definitely going to cover, and let's hit the over. Both of those things did happen, and it happened in a way that we all kind of thought was going to happen. When Russell Wilson got that ball back late in the fourth quarter, having to drive down and score a touchdown, we all knew it was going to happen. We all knew Russell Wilson was going to do that. Russell Wilson has become that player where if you get the ball in his hands, you assume good things are going to happen, especially whenever your team needs it. And on the flip side, Baker somehow proved that he's not the guy that should be right now at this exact moment. Right. Not forever. He has a chance to learn and grow. He's only in his second year. I would assume Russell Wilson in his second year had a lot to grow as well. Baker throws that pick to end the game. It was far behind. They said it was back shoulder. That was just a missed throw. That is third pick of the entire game. And early, the Browns had some flashes of greatness. They had some flashes. They had 3rd and 7 that was dropped, and then they went for it on 4th and 7, a little bit out of field goal range, but not far enough back to really want to punt. We got to go for it, says Freddie Kitchens. Pick up the 4th and 7, drive down the field. Baker runs it in. The dog pounds like we're back. That game was supposed to be a comeback game for the Browns after getting slaughtered on national television on Monday Night Football. And instead, Russell Wilson and the Seahawks just didn't blink. Didn't blink. That defense caused a bunch of turnovers, including a fumble and 3 picks. They had a shanked punt even by Dixon, which is very out of ordinary for the guy. He was backed up. It was a close thing. But that Seahawks team never felt like they were out of that game. They always felt like they were in control. And my handsome bet that I put on them to cover and the over never felt out of reach. I felt like I was going to get broken off from the moment it was announced.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for me because I talk quite a bit about how I can't stand Russell Wilson, but he is so good at football, and he is so fun to watch.
It sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it does.
Because he's not a guy that we'd want to hang out with.
No, absolutely
Russell Wilson
not.
is not a guy we'd want to hang out with.
Right, but, again, he for Hasselbeck was saying it. He's a great guy. Guys love playing with him. He's the consummate teammate. He's incredible. But my question is, are the Browns done? I mean, like, for this season, is it essentially over? Yesterday, I think I noticed for the first time, like, Odell was kind of starting to, show a couple, antics. Like, he was kind of jumping around and pouting a little bit. I wonder if he's on the tipping point of just exploding and something crazy going off in that locker room.
I thought that last week after Odell fumbled that punt at the end that there might be some shots fired at Odell instead of everybody else in Cleveland. It didn't happen. Odell maintained his composure. Yesterday, they lose again. How how long can they lose while Odell just continues to bite his tongue? I'm not sure that can happen for too long. I was talking to AQ last night after his big win. He got poked in the eye, by the way. He might have a nice shiner coming up here a little bit. Look for AQ Shipley to have a beautiful shiner there, center for the Arizona Cardinals. By the way, AQ and I was the best man in his first wedding. Second wedding, he didn't have any best anything, and they escaped and got married. AQ and I have known each other for a long time. I'm happy they're having success. But we were talking last night, though. Zeitler was their guard. He got traded out in that Odell Beckham trade. And I think that is the thing that doesn't get talked about enough. Baker Mayfield is playing as if he's a scared quarterback. When you're a scared quarterback, you don't sit in the pocket. You don't go through your reads. You don't take time to really deliver your ball so you can be a little bit inaccurate. Right now he's playing like a scared quarterback. So that delivery or that departure of Zeitler, their guard, who was incredible, I think that is a much bigger deal than people have talked about. And Josh Sitton last week on this show said, you can have 2 bad offensive linemen. You can't have 3 bad offensive linemen. Because with 2 bad offensive linemen, you can chip, you can scheme for it, you can figure it out. But when you have 3 bad offensive linemen, like it seems like the Cleveland Browns have, there's a lot going on. In the mental capacity of Baker Mayfield and his feel, he's a feel guy. Everybody knows he's a feel guy. If he doesn't feel confident and comfortable, that can be a real problem. And I think we're seeing it. And I don't know if Monday night was the time to panic for the dog pound. But at this point, going into the season, you have all these hopes, all these dreams, all these aspirations that we don't suck anymore. We don't suck anymore. Our Bud Lights are going to be able to be drank. We're now being talked about in the offseason. Our stud wide receiver that we just traded for is wearing $1 million watches on thing. Everybody's talking about the Cleveland Browns. TV shows are coming here. All of a sudden, the Browns are the new it team. And now they're going into their bye week 2-4, and everybody's like, we suck again. We suck again. Diggs will say it. Everybody will say it. Same old brownies. And I don't know if it's the player's fault, if it's the strategy, the scheme, the coach's fault, because Rex Ryan said it. He said, I was watching film on him because he wanted to learn why his hatred for Baker Mayfield's play should be vindicated or not. And he said that offense, he said Baker is left on plenty of occasion with no check down. So everything is designed for the big play. Everything's designed to get going. And when you can't connect on those and you have nothing to really rely on with a dink and dump or something like that to get Baker into rhythm, you're in a bad spot. And that defense yesterday, whenever they need a big-time stop against Russell Wilson, couldn't get it.
Right.
Just couldn't get it. Now, granted, penalties kept the Seahawks alive, which has been another problem for the Cleveland Browns.
Most penalized team in the league.
Just undisciplined. That falls on the head coach. Play design. That falls on the head coach. A lot of arrows are pointing at Freddie Kitchens to blame. And I don't know if it should be or not, but it just feels as if that's particularly the case.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, even when they were up 20-6 yesterday in the first half, like you didn't think it's like, all right, well, the Seahawks are just going to march down the field. They're going to come back. Like it was never really a doubt that the Seahawks were going to come back and beat them.
Hasselbeck had a good tweet. He said that they were on Pacific time because in the first half, the Seattle Seahawks were just asleep. And then in the second half, their defense woke up and their offense woke up. And at no point were you like, yep, this is what, like going into half. I had 100% faith that Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, Schottenheimer, and the boys over there were going to figure it out for the Seattle Seahawks. I had zero faith in the Browns being able to maintain it.
Right.
And I think everybody in Cleveland felt the same way. They're like, well, damn, we're about to get outclassed at halftime for sure. And that's exactly what you saw. So what do the Cleveland Browns fans do now? What does the dog pound do now? They're 2-4. You can't quit on them yet because they're not completely out of it because the AFC North is now a big question mark, especially with old Ducky Hodges leading the way on primetime television. He throws a pretty ball, by the way.
He does.
Being a guy that resembles a duck.
He does.
15-20 last night. Just let him be a game manager almost. Let our offense work. Let James Conner do his thing. Let that offensive line that has a lot of notable names kind of move bodies and keep it moving. Let our defense, who was highly touted coming into the year, that has nothing to do with old Tommy John on Ben Roethlisberger. Defense can still play. But then you look at the Baltimore Ravens. Have they figured it out? Has Lamar Jackson, who started out hot, got ice cold, said he hates running, learned that, hey, Lamar, the reason why you're going to have success is because you can run so well. First quarterback in history to have 250-plus and 150 or something like that running. It's like, Lamar, you might hate it because you're going to get banged up and you're going to get hurt, and your career will be nowhere near as long as Tom Brady or Peyton who just sit in there. But what you can add to a game is much different than what anybody else can add. So in that AFC North, if the Browns continue to struggle, The Ravens and Steelers, the Steelers might be able to pull away. The Browns have to figure something out quick, or that AFC North is going to be something that they ain't touching. And the Bengals, boy, the Bengals. It is now, by the way, for those keeping tally at home, a 3-horse race for that suck fest, for that suck bowl, for the first overall pick. The Redskins had a big win over the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins still maintain the driver's seat for that number 1 overall pick. It all came down to a 2-point conversion. Josh Rosen gets benched. Fitzmagic comes in, creates some magic, almost completely ruins the tanking season. But the front office and offensive coordinator said, don't you worry, Fitzmagic. You can do all that you need to do. Wait till you see us dial up this garbage call we got for this 2-point play. No shot that thing was going in. Redskins and Callahan get a big win. Bengals are hot on their heels. I can't wait to see who gets the first pick. But who are they going to pick? Who are they going to pick? Tua didn't look great this weekend. Jalen Hurts looked bad at football this weekend, which is going to happen. That's going to happen. But there's no true number 1, I don't think. And honestly, I think Tua, very talented. Tua's a very good quarterback. He's on a great team. I think he's a righty. I think Tua's a righty. I think they have him throwing lefty. I think he's a righty. Maybe he can work on that going into the season. But I think Tua's very good. I don't think he's a clear-cut number 1. I don't think Jalen Hurts is a clean-cut number 1. I don't think that Air Bear guy is a clean-cut number 1.
No.
I have no idea who it's going to be, but the number 1 pick is always important because you can trade it away for more picks and do your thing. I think those 3 are really going to battle for it. The Bengals just look,
Yikes.
they're so bad at football. It makes no sense to me.
Well, and we were saying it, I just feel so bad for Andy Dalton. I mean, just, again, week after week, just scraping his lifeless body off the turf, just taking hit after hit.
Things not being talked about as we get to a break here. Things not being talked about. The Denver Broncos are now 2-0 since Joe Flacco has come on the Pat McAfee Show 2.0 podcast. Nobody's talking about that.
Nope.
Joe Flacco makes an appearance on the podcast. They go 2-0. How will they do this Thursday against the Chiefs? The blueprint is there. Will they go 3-0? Will the Broncos never lose again since the Pat McAfee Show 2.0 bump? People are talking. Titans stink. Marcus Mariota benched. Jameis Winston threw 45 interceptions. Overreaction Monday. Let's keep it going. 1-833-622-3331. We will get to the calls because the bookers for this show booked us nobody. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show on this beautiful Overreaction Monday. Oh, welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Nice little beat there, huh? We are live in New York City on this Overreaction Monday, October 14th, 10:23 a.m. in the morning here in American Standard Time. Welcome back. We appreciate you. This morning I walked into that Get Up production meeting. Walked right in there. It was great to see everybody. Really good crew over there. Mm-hmm. Good people. Rex Ryan looked incredible wearing a purple shirt, blue suit. Dan Orlovsky was in his fresh suit. And then Greeny came in with a little bit of bounce. Greeny is a noted Jet fan. I assumed we'd be talking about the Jets being good. They're like, no, let's talk about the Cowboys. And this is obligatory Cowboys talk.
Yep.
On every national show, because from what I've been told is that the Cowboys move the needle.
Correct.
No matter what happens with the Dallas Cowboys, people want to know, and it's because Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys are such incredible marketers of their product. Mm-hmm. Jerry Jones has been able to create and captivate a fan base that is loyal, rabid, and diehard, even in the face of ridiculous mediocrity, which is what the Dallas Cowboys have been. They are forced down our throats on national television every single week. The Dallas Cowboys are going to be on TV. I would have thought that the conversation about Sam Darnold coming back after mono, and I said this on Get Up, whenever we were in high school and somebody got mono and they came back to school, we're like, oh my God, did you lose half your body? You lost 35, 40 pounds. I had a friend in college that was trying to find a girl who had mono to kiss so he could lose some quick weight for spring break.
Yep, nice little diet.
He's like, I need to find a girl with mono. Or a dude with mono. Spring break's in 2 weeks. I need to get this out of me. Instead, Sam Darnold came back after the mono, after sucking face with whatever face had mono, comes back and he's better at football. He made a throw yesterday inside the pocket with pressure in his face. It was a sidearm throw. He looked like Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson. And I was like, wait a minute. I did not know Sam Darnold was that good at football. I was judged. They're like, well, you don't watch enough football. I'm like, well, the Jets stink. I live in America.
Right.
We don't get forced the Jets down our face like it is over here in New York. Mm-hmm. I had no idea that Sam Darnold was this good a quarterback. I knew he was very young. He got drafted at like the age of 20 or something. Kid couldn't even drink. I knew that everybody that was a Jets fan was like, oh, we got a guy. Anytime he's on national television, he blew it. I was like, this guy is not that good. I should have known he was a rookie quarterback, very young, in an organization that has been perpetual failures for a long time. Then he gets mono. It's hard not to just bury that guy. Mm-hmm. Like, how as a starting NFL quarterback do you have mono? How are you not just in your own little bubble world as a starting quarterback? I view starting quarterbacks in this different world that they live, because they do. They're just different humans. Ever since they were children, and granted, he's still a child, they are pampered. Everything's taken care of for them. You hear these stories about like teachers giving grades to people. That's happening to quarterbacks, nobody else. In college, where you get security or the $100 handshakes, that's happening to quarterbacks. That's not happening to anybody else. Quarterbacks are in this world of themselves. So to hear a guy got mono, it's like, wait a minute, this is a peasant illness. You're getting a punter-kicker illness, and you're supposed to be the face of a franchise. So it's hard not to judge him. But watching him play football, you're saying, like, wait a minute, they got a guy. Lev Bell's got to be pretty excited about that. Adam Gase needed that win more than anybody could have possibly needed to win. I would only argue that the only person that needed a win yesterday, worse, is either Dak Prescott or Jason Garrett.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott is on a slippery slope. The Price is Right thing, straight down for his contract value. Straight down. He's performed terribly the last 3 weeks. And Jason Garrett, who has 3 seasons of being 500, on his way to his 4th, they're in the bottom 3 of the league when it comes to time of possession, field position, and turnovers for the last 3 games.
Pretty important stuff.
All that stuff falls right at the head coach. The offensive strategy and offensive scheme, everybody who's like a super diehard film nut like Orlovsky says, it feels like Jason Garrett's getting his hands in the offense a little bit more with Kellen Moore. It feels like Kellen Moore maybe is going to Jason Garrett for a little bit more help, but Jason Garrett's doing it. We don't know the ins and outs of that, but we do know that Dallas Cowboys team looked uninspired. They looked like they all had mono. That's what it looked like. The Dallas Cowboys looked like they had mono yesterday. Jason Garrett went out to give high five, slap hands after an offensive series. His team just walked right by him. Could you imagine that optically? Imagine if you guys all did something and I walked out onto the field on camera, and you all just walked right by me and didn't even touch my hand. That would be, for people that read things a lot deeper in like sociology or like psychology or something like that. That said more than anything else to me.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that they just left their guy hanging on national television, everybody's like, oh, it's just a high five. Who cares? It's like, no, that's more than just a high five. That's seeing that a man is holding his hand out, thinking about it, to hell with this guy. We are sick of this guy. We are done with this guy. We are tired of being overhyped by everybody because we're going to be on national television, having early success, and then stinking, which is what the Dallas Cowboys have done. They lost to an 0-4 Jets team. Very different. This is a very different Jets team because they finally got a quarterback that's supposed to be in the NFL.
Right.
I mean, their last quarterback was a starter, got cut, cleared waivers, and is not on a team at all. That does not happen. You don't go from a starting quarterback in the NFL to just completely gone in a week. That's what happened for the Jets. So we got to understand that they had a McDonald's drive-thru worker playing quarterback for the New York Jets. Now they have Sam Darnold, a guy who's, by all accounts, very good. And my first time really getting to watch him dazzle, I'll say, was yesterday. He is damn good. But that Cowboys team stinks. They are so bad. Oh, injuries this, injuries that. Yeah, but that's what a head coach has to do. You have to deal with injuries in the NFL. You have to be able to adapt and adjust. And if you want to be a team that's up there in the caliber of way we're talking about the Cowboys, you got to be able to win a damn game, and they just can't do it. They just can't do it. They might never win again. They might never win a game again. And none of us would be surprised. None of us would be surprised if the Cowboys never win again. And Jerry Jones, who is always talking because he's an incredible marketer, the offensive coordinator is always going to be the hottest seat in football. I love this team. I love these players. I pay Zeke Elliott. We didn't give him the ball for the first 5 weeks. We give him the ball, gets 100 yards rushing, we still lose. Dak Prescott's salary is not in flux no matter how god-awful he plays. All these things Jerry Jones is lying about. I think the biggest thing he can lie about is that he never thought about firing Jason Garrett. At some point, something's got to give. There has to be a new energy in there. At some point, there has to be like a little bit of a rebirth for the Dallas Cowboys. You saw it with the Giants there for a couple of weeks whenever they benched Eli. Whenever there's a new face, there's always this new energy where people are trying to prove themselves to a new group. At some point, the Cowboys have to do that, or at some point, I'm done with the Cowboys being shoved down my throat on national television. This team, right now, stinks.
Well, and like you mentioned.
Had to say it. Had to say it.
Well, and it's true. I mean, they beat arguably like 3 of the worst teams in football, and everyone was, saying they're a Super Bowl contender, they're a front runner, Dak's going to win MVP. Then they play some stiff competition, and they've looked god-awful. And to your point about Jason Garrett, giving high fives when guys come off the field, even on other teams, if guys are pissed off, if they get flagged, whatever the case may be, they're still doing that. They're not just sunning their coach right in front of everyone.
You can't just look them right in the eye and be like, you know what? Nah, not even going to reach my hand out at you, bub. I'm about enough of your crap. That's basically what you're saying right there. While you're jogging by, now granted, they can say, well, I didn't even see it. I didn't even do this. Yeah, everybody can lie, I guess. But that's just not the way it goes. We all know it. We have brains. We're watching the Dallas Cowboys whether we like it or not. They're going to be on your television whether you like it or not. I think I speak for everybody where it's like, hey, at least make him a good team. Hey, Jerry, at least give him a shot. Get that redheaded guy out of there. Let's get a new guy in there.
He's been there for 10 years now.
Sucks.
Yeah, he just it's tough because I think part of it is we've said it before. Jerry wants a guy who he can stick his hand up his ass and just puppeteer the entire time, which is what he does. I mean, Jason Garrett he's a stooge
and
a sellout.
Everybody knows that.
Going into games. You look at him. He's so milquetoast. He's so just average and.
Are you saying he's milk because he has red hair? That's what it sounds like.
But it's just like
he is though.
You never expect him to outcoach someone else
ever.
It's just like you kind of you expect the players to go in and perform, but you never expect him to outsmart someone or outcoach someone to win a game.
Now, granted, if the kicker makes a 40-yard field goal, we're playing an entirely different game. He can bury a 62-yarder. He misses a 40-yarder. Last week, he missed a 33-yarder or a 32-yarder to potentially extend a comeback drive. I mean, there's a lot of things happening, and they all revolve around just careless mistakes over there. And to think that Jason Garrett is not on the hot seat is just, it's completely ignorant. And I think Jerry Jones is a good businessman. I assume he won't fire somebody in the middle of the season, but it feels like it's going to be much more of the same. They only have 2 playoff wins in his entire 10 years, or 1 playoff win in his entire 10-year career. Marvin Lewis could stare that mediocrity right down the eye and say, you know what, that's impressive that you've been able to do that. Marvin Lewis was at the Bengals for 16 years or something, 0 playoff wins. What Jason Garrett has been able to do with the Dallas Cowboys is almost as impressive as that because it's a national spotlight role.
Exactly.
It's a national spotlight job. And to suck and be average for this long and still have a job, it's almost, as my good friend Zito would say, it's almost admirable. It's almost admirable.
Very admiral.
Very admirable. It's almost admirable the way he's been able to do this because each year they stink. They're very average. Going to the offseason, the hype train happens again. They maybe do good. Then they stink again. And it's just this thing. Put it on repeat. That's the Dallas Cowboys. And there's no way that's what Jerry Jones wants the Dallas Cowboys to be. But if you look at the last couple of decades, that's what the Cowboys are, Jerry Jones. Don't know how to tell you that.
Well, and that's why it's kind of tough because obviously anyone would take the head coaching job in Dallas just because it's, massive market. I mean, it's great for your own personal brand, but how many guys really want to go there if they don't have say over personnel, if they constantly have someone from above in their ear saying, hey, we need to do this more, we need to do this more. Like, at what point is that like, all right, well, I'm not interested in that job anymore?
It's very interesting because everybody just says that Lincoln Riley's going to get that job.
Right.
Lincoln Riley is holding out to get the Cowboy job. That might be happening much sooner than later, even though Lincoln Riley's about to have 3 consecutive Heisman winners, which I think is what's going to happen with Jalen Hurts. Even though he's just throwing the ball into he was reckless with the football this week. It was my first time really get a chance to watch him since opening night. Mm-hmm. He was very, very reckless with the ball. Now, granted, the behind-the-back thing was awesome, and he has the ability to throw everywhere, but I think at some point Lincoln Riley's going to get that job. And in the control over personnel, that is not normal for head coaches.
Right.
Not a lot of head coaches have control over personnel. You look at Pete Carroll, he's got it up there in Seattle. You look at Belichick, he's got it there in New England. For a time there, Adam Gase had it with the Jets whenever they decided to fire the GM after spending all of their money. But that's not a normal thing. You got to really work up to that. So I don't think it's that weird that the coach won't have say over personnel. But if Jerry Jones is poking his nose in there on what plays to run and who gets the ball and who deserves what, that is a tough position. And to be able to balance a billionaire's ego and a billionaire's brain with operating a fully functioning football team that is at a high level, that's going to be one that somebody's going to have to figure out because Jason Garrett hasn't been able to do it.
And he's not going to be able to do it.
Ever. But he'll clap, he'll smile, and he'll move on to the next one. But at some point, and I assume Jason Garrett's going to go somewhere else and be an incredible coach, by the way. Jason Garrett has probably learned more in this tenure here of being average than most people would, whether it's dealing with media, marketing, how to talk to players, things like that. I think Jason Garrett will go on and have a successful career coaching somewhere else. But, boy, he has not been able to balance Jerry Jones and the good of football at the same time. He's not been able to do it. I guess Jerry Jones thinks he's been able to do good because he keeps Jerry Jones happy, which keeps you employed. But the ability to balance both Jerry Jones' ego and his mind, who has built an incredible thing down there, and also be able to say, hey, this is what's going to make our team better, is a tough job, I assume. And being able to massage egos is a very important thing to be able to do. Don't think Jason Garrett's been able to do it at all.
Do you think also part of it, or maybe part of the reason that Jerry Jones doesn't really care that much, I mean, he obviously cares, but because like the revenue's not down, like they're still selling tickets, they're still selling jerseys, like they're still one of the most profitable franchises in sports, so is it easier for him to be like, well, everything's still going okay on my end?
I think Jerry likes to win. I think Jerry and Kraft feel like the two guys who enjoy winning. Mm-hmm.
Which is why it's surprising, though, that he hasn't made more of a commitment. Like, Jason Garrett is not the guy. He's not going to get it done in Dallas.
Will Kane, who's an ESPN personality, diehard Cowboy fan, he posted a video last night, a reaction video to the game. Very somber, Will Kane. Said he didn't want to go to work today on this particular Monday because he knew he was going to get buried. But he said on day one, Jerry Jones fired Tom Landry. Tom Landry, Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame name. On day one, Jerry Jones fired him and said, we're moving a different direction. Jerry Jones has never been a guy who's just accepted mediocrity through his entire career, whether it comes business-wise, football-wise, even when he was in the oil business. Jerry Jones wanted to be the greatest. Jerry Jones stares in the mirror every day knowing that Jason Garrett is his head coach, knowing that his team is just going to be mediocre for however long that guy runs the team. Has Jerry Jones changed? Has Jerry Jones lost that it factor that has made Jerry Jones Jerry Jones? If Jerry Jones was making decisions like he's making decisions today, back in the day, would the Dallas Cowboys be America's team? Would they have their own merchandise deal within the NFL? Would they have their own stadium without taxpayer dollars? Would they be as cutthroat as they were in the past with this nonchalant BS take that he's doing with Jason Garrett? I'm not sure. I think now What's going on, man? Just brought me a nice tea there in the middle of a bit. I appreciate that. That means a lot. I think now Jason Garrett is getting to a point where Jerry Jones' legacy is being questioned by people, including me. Jerry Jones is a cutthroat businessman. Jerry Jones is a savage when it comes to negotiations. Jerry Jones is a lot of things. But when it comes to this Jason Garrett character, for some reason, it's just, yeah, suck all you want. We'll make everybody watch it for 16 games. You just do whatever you got to do. And then next offseason, we'll hype this thing up again. And then you just do it again. We'll put it on repeat. I don't think Jerry's just there to collect checks, although he does a lot of that and in abundance. I just don't think Jerry's the type of guy to let them continue to be incredibly average.
Is it possible that Jason Garrett has some sort of dirt on him and this is a blackmail situation? He can't let him go.
Hey,
something to think about.
When I say this, I mean this. Before watching House of Cards Season 1, I would think there's no way that's the case. Hey, I think it's something we should think about.
Think about it.
I think Dallas Cowboys fans have been thinking about it hard for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Hard. What the hell is this guy doing coaching our team still? Optically, it just looks bad. You look like you're content with being average. That's not you, Jerry. Speaking of average, Alberto Riveron's back. That guy stinks. He's below average. We'll talk about that. 10:39, you're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back to Talking Heads, Talking Sports. This is the Pat McAfee Show live in New York City. It is 10:44 a.m. Are the Kansas City Chiefs broken? Is that team done for? Are they dead? The refs tried to screw him a little bit yesterday on numerous occasions. As on the other side, the Hockey League son, I don't think his crew had the greatest performance. It just piles on to this entire ref crew that the NFL currently has to being the worst officiating crew probably in the history of any sport.
Without a doubt.
Any genre. You get a beer pong ref at a local college party, that kid's going to know the rules better than these NFL refs seem to do. If you get a review in a flip cup game, that thing's going to be reviewed better than what the NFL is currently being reviewed at. Billions and billions and billions of dollars are generated by this league, and they can't figure out how the Foot Locker dudes in the middle of it all can regulate it in a proper fashion. At some point, that is going to really cost people games. It already is.
Yeah.
But since it's early in the season, it's not as magnified. We got calls being blown on national television games. Usually in the past, the terrible calls would be snuck in a 1 o'clock game that nobody's watching. Mm-hmm. Only maybe regionally people would be upset. Like, oh, this happened to us, this happened to us. But now in highlight, spotlight, primetime games, rules are just being completely blown. Not only on the field, but in review. In the Chiefs game, they called a pass interference against Travis Kelce, who was completely tackled in the middle of it. Now, granted, do I like seeing the Chiefs lose? I think it's interesting. Do I like seeing the Texans win? No, because I'm picking the Colts, whatever. But in this particular situation, there's a pass interference late in the game. Patrick Mahomes threw it deep to the left corner. The only wide receiver in the thought ran a post in. They threw the flag, pass interference against the guy guarding Travis Kelce. He tackled him, clearly tackled him. They make the call. Sean Hockley makes the call to the camera. They move the ball all the way up to the spot of the foul. First down, Kansas City Chiefs. Without a challenge flag being thrown, after the offensive line is already set, defensive line is already set, after the murmuring in the crowd of what the hell's going on, they huddle. The refs huddle on the side, and there is an obvious gesture to the ear one of the refs does, to like his little pop star microphone ear where somebody's talking into his ear. He obviously goes like this. Then he goes to Sean Hockley and goes, I don't think it's pass interference because the ball didn't go to Travis Kelce. They go, okay, actually, not pass interference because the ball was not thrown to the guy that was being interfered with. It didn't happen until the ball left the ground or left the thrower's hand. So then he marched the ball back. No other explanation, no challenge. And the optics of that ref going to his ear and then telling him something and then them changing the rule is bad.
Terrible.
Optically, that is very bad. Could he have been talking to somebody else on the field? Potentially. But the way it looks on television, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, that's not going to sit well. Especially because pass interference has been such a highly talked about item of the rules these days. These refs aren't going to get better. They're only going to get worse. And I almost feel like it's on purpose. You watched that Jets-Cowboys game yesterday. It was just a flag fest. Flag this, flag that, flag, flaggy flag. That's all it was. Because the refs have no idea anymore. They're just throwing it because they think something's a call. Oh, this is this. We'll figure it out in review. Wrong. The reviews have been worse than everything else. Alberto Riveron is like the blind leading the blind at this point. And then they go at NFL officiating where they release videos of Alberto Riveron explaining things that happen. The only thing he's explaining are the things that we're not talking about. You have yet to see him one time come out on that NFL officiating Twitter account and say, well, we didn't turn over that pass interference, not because it was blatantly obvious and we got it wrong, but because we're just fornicating it all up every single time we can. Dan Orlovsky said this morning on Get Up, he said that everybody thought just a few years ago after Dr. Will Smith came out, Dr. Will Smith from South Africa, by the way.
Yep, tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth. Everybody thought CTE concussions was going to be what ended football. They're like, well, now those rich suburban moms aren't going to let their kids play. That's going to kill the NFL. CTE, the studies of the future, is going to affect the way players play. It's going to change the rules. It's no longer going to be real football anymore. Dan Orlovsky said that's not the case. It's going to be the officiating. The officiating takes the flow of the game out. It makes it almost unwatchable at times. And I don't think refs of the past have gotten enough credit. I don't think we appreciated the Gene Sterators.
Definitely not.
Who was a field general, who could command a game in beautiful fashion, whether it's off conversations that are happening in between plays with guys. Hey, guys, like you're holding him, obviously. You need to stop doing that or we're going to call something. Little side conversations that are happening like that. To prevent cluster truck situations of happening in the future. John Perry, who's with Monday Night Football now, he used to have those types of things. Ed Hockley retires. Why isn't Ed Hockley what Alberto is right now? Why is Ed Hockley, who's been the head of the ref union for a long time, why is he not the Alberto Riveron? I would assume cash is probably the reason. The NFL needs to just break one of these guys off and say, hey, Dean Blandino, hey, Gene Steratore, hey, Mike Pereira, hey, John Perry. Hey, Ed Hockley. I know you want to retire, and the other guys, I know you want to do TV. We need you to come save the officiating for our game. Because the officials are the voice of the game. They're literally the ones speaking for the league. Whenever they say something, this holding call is something we don't do here. That is beneath this personal foul is below what they are the voice of the league in the game. So it makes me think that almost New York could be involved with this whole thing, which I don't see how the NFL would want their officials to be garbage. But it feels like something has to change, and the silence is deafening from Roger Goodell on this entire thing. You would think at some point he would already came out, but they just stink week in and week out. We've been hammering Alberto Riveron for a long time. Bad leader of men, obviously. Whenever your entire crew stinks, I mean, I'm assuming there's a couple good refs out there. I think John Hussey's a good ref. He was there last night for the Steelers-Chargers. I think he's a good dude. There's a Clete Blakeman, a guy who's
doing tonight's game.
He's a good ref. He handles things well. And it's, by the way, it's not just the refs in the way you make your calls. It's the conversations you have with coaches, the conversations you have with players. You're almost like a politician out there. Like, hey, we've been getting complaints that you've been holding, you've been doing this. We need to change that before we can do it. You kind of you're regulating the game more than just throwing flags. And you also have to have personality. You can't be scared to death. But at some point, Goodell has to come out and be like, yo, Alberto, all your guys stink, aside from a couple. Something's got to give here. We're going to need a new leader. You're going to have to get the hell out. And I think the world would applaud for the first time. Roger Goodell only gets applauded whenever he's surrounded by firemen, children, cops. That's the only time he gets applauded, when they send him out into public. I think for the first time he would get applauded by the public if he said, hey, listen, Alberto, you're ruining the game. Get the hell out.
I mean, it's just... It's sickening because, again, nothing's going to change. Like, we know nothing's going to change. It's honestly gotten to the point where it's almost gotten worse week after week. And I think to Orlovsky's point, like, the issue with that is, are there any stats that are showing that people aren't watching the games as much? Like, I feel like ratings are just as high as they've ever been. Like, I mean, because it's just, what else are we going to do? You know,
they know that we got nothing to do on Sunday.
We are literally handcuffed to these. There's nothing else we can do. You just have to take it and eat it.
Because we all know we go to church.
Yeah, exactly.
4 or 5 hours every Sunday morning.
Yep.
And after we talk to whichever God we're talking to on that particular Sunday, whether it's the Jesus, the head God, the Allah, the Joseph A. Smith, whatever his name is, that the Mormons rock with, John Smith, whichever God you're praying to on Sunday.
Joseph A. Bank.
Great suit company. I get mine from David Allen, but I'd go to Joseph A. if I had to. Whatever God you're praying to on Sunday, there's nothing else to do on Sunday afternoon in the Falls.
Nope.
It's this sanctuary. It's this place where you get to escape everything for a while. That's why whenever the kneeling for the flag thing happened, it was so polarizing, because a lot of people, they work their ass off all week just to watch NFL football. That's all they want. They just want to see their team of gladiators take on another team of gladiators in a sport that is just violent. There's action, there's drama, there's talent, there's finesse, there's everything you could possibly want. And it's a sanctuary for people.
It is.
And whenever you have these refs just ruining the game, it's the first time I've heard everybody say, we hate this group of refs. We hate these calls. We think Alberto's wrong. And at some point, a billion-dollar industry that is having billion-dollar problems has to answer to that. And Roger Goodell's silence is deafening.
And you can tell, I mean, Riveron's he's an ass clown. I mean, it's to the point where he's almost smug about it in those videos we have.
Hey, can we play one of those videos just to hear him speak?
We actually can't do it because there's NFL highlights on it.
It's a tweet, though. They put that in the public domain.
I was told not to back here.
Can we play just the sound of him talking?
Yes, let me cue that up.
Oh, boy. That's never going to happen. We got a minute and a half to the end of it. But you listen to Alberto Riveron speaking this thing. He's very smug. He knows that he's at the top of the food chain. And I think that abuse of power has been the real problem with these NFL refs, is they don't care. They don't give a single... Not even a heads up that it's coming on. That's good.
It was determined that there was no clear and obvious visual evidence that the lower leg was not on the ground. Therefore, the ruling on the field stood.
Thanks, Al. It's just
Great
like,
insight.
every once in a while, these tweets will come out where it's like a little peek inside of the way Alberto Riveron operates. And it's just like the more and more, it's the worse he gets. And I'm not saying this is Alberto Riveron a human. I don't know him as a human.
No.
He seems like a
Stooge and a sellout.
But I am talking strictly professional as his position, as his role at the premier level, at a elite level. At the NFL is the top of the top, and this guy's supposed to be the top of the top, and he just stinks. I know all the good refs have been plucked and put into TV networks, and they've retired and things like that. But at some point, this guy has to just give up, man. Maybe he'll resign and do the right thing, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. 10:55, we'll get some phone calls on the other side of the break. First hour, Overreaction Monday has been a good time. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show.
It's the perfect occasion for a mental vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Yes, it is, Chase Rice. I appreciate you. It is 11:01 live in New York City, sitting alongside Ty Schmidt on this beautiful Overreaction Monday, October 14th, 2019. Zito and Foxy are in the back room directing humans into doing things. Zito's on the phone, says he has an electric phone call. Zito, let's get to it right now.
Yes, sir. We have Mike from Canada talking some Cowboys. Let's go, Mike.
All right, from Canada. Let's hear it, Mike.
All right, so I think with all the injuries the Cowboys have had, they got 2 receivers and 2 tackles down. Once they get back to being healthy, I think in 3 weeks they could take any team in the league.
Hang up on him.
Yeah.
What a hilarious line. I love that Canadians are always nice and always optimistic. I enjoy the fact that Cowboys fans are still bought into the hype, which is what you're supposed to do, by the way. Every team has to deal with injuries, by the way. That's just the way it goes. And the way this team has been able to handle them has been absolutely terrible. Now, granted, having a couple tackles down is not good. That is not good news. A lot of teams have to deal with injuries along the offensive line. Having Amari Cooper get hurt early, also not ideal. But to be able to win in games that you're injured is what makes you a good football team. That's just the way it is. You look at the Green Bay Packers. They lost Devontae Adams, their number one weapon, basically. And last week, they went into the Dallas Cowboys' hometown and beat the hell out of you guys with another guy, next man up, bringing in the team. That is also a part of roster building. That is also part of coaching. That is also part of scheme and strategy. And right now, it seems like the Cowboys have none of it. Right now, what the Cowboys seem to be is a team that was overhyped that I bought into. I bought into the hype. I enjoyed the thought that Dak Prescott was going to become this elite quarterback. I enjoyed the thought that Kellen Moore, old boy wonder, old 12-year-old, the little kid who is going to be drawing up plays that they're going to be incredible. I bought into the thought that Ezekiel Elliott went to Cabo, got his money, and was going to continue to be an animal, which, by the way, all signs point to say he still is.
Right.
I bought into the fact that that defense is young, fast, aggressive, savages. I bought into the hype. But as you continue to watch them here the last couple weeks, it seems like all that hype was misplaced. It seems like the trust I had for these men calling things down in Dallas was misplaced. It seems like Jerry Jones is no longer the Jerry Jones of old. It seems like Jerry Jones lost his savageness. It feels like Jerry Jones has lost everything that has made Jerry Jones Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones just sits along quietly in his box with Ellen DeGeneres, George Bush, John Schnatter, whenever before Papa John's basically went to hell. Jerry Jones has just been watching along idly as this Dallas Cowboys team continues to just be an average team. A couple years ago, there was 2016, they won like 81% of the games or something, still lost in the playoffs. That was their best shot to be good. Now they're right back to where they always have been, just super average. And the fact that the fans are still bought in, I respect. I respect the fanhood of that guy from Canada who loves the Cowboys. I respect that. But at some point, somebody has to say, Jerry Jones has lost everything that has made Jerry Jones Jerry Jones. I listened to an interview Jerry Jones did with Joe Buck, and he said he put everything on the table for the Dallas Cowboys. I want all in. He said whenever you're line 2 and you're on a power 5, or line 1, I'm sorry, hitting your second shot and you're on a par 5 and you're 230, 220 yards out and there's a little bit of water there. He said some people want to lay up and then chip in for a potential birdie. He said, not me. I drive the green every fornicating time. That's what he said. Straight face, he said that. I was watching it late night. It was like 2, 3 a.m., probably on some vitamins. I was like, oh, I love that guy. I love Jerry Jones. He's a guy who, if you're playing checkers, if you're about to win, he'll flip the table and just to make sure he gets a W. Mm-hmm. He's a competitive guy, wants to win just as bad as everybody else. He always seems to outsmart people. In negotiations, he's always the winner of negotiations. The new CBA, him and Robert Kraft sat down with Jeff Saturday, of all people, and won the CBA. Jerry Jones is a stalwart of the NFL, a big-time mind of the NFL. But now it feels like he's just okay with being average and his team being disappointing to their fans, even if their fans aren't realizing that they're disappointing at the current moment. They're diehard fans. Jerry Jones has lost what has made Jerry Jones, and that's Jerry Jones' fastball. And right now he's just dancing around the plate. He won't call it for what it is. Jason Garrett has not been able to lead the troops to an elite fashion, and it was all focused whenever he walked out on the field and nobody gave him a high five. That's a big deal if you're watching at home. Big deal. Your head coach wants to give you a high five. You're in the NFL, and an NFL head coach wants to give you a high five. That's a big-time moment for any kid, any moment of your life. You dap him up publicly, even if you don't like the guy privately. You definitely do that just to show respect. Yesterday, he walks out on the field, bang, nothing. Now, granted, did the refs screw that whole game up? Probably. I'd assume that's what's happening. That is kind of the way it works here in 2019.
You can say that every week.
You say that everything. But Jason Garrett just hasn't been able to get the job done. He is the picture of mediocrity as a head coach for the Dallas Cowboys, and Jerry Jones just seems not to care. And to me, that's a wild scene for me. That's just not the Jerry Jones I know. That's not the Jerry Jones that I love and respect. That's the Jerry Jones that'll walk into Pawn Stars and that guy Rick would hustle him the hell out of the store. And that's not the Jerry Jones of old. This is the new Jerry Jones. And maybe this is the new Dallas Cowboys. Just an average team that's going to get average results.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head, because if he did care or seemed like he cared like he used to, and everything we know about Jerry Jones, they would have fired Jason Garrett 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
who knows? I mean, it does kind of seem like he doesn't give a rat's ass. He cares more about his friendship or whatever you want to call it with
and
Jason
checks.
Garrett. And checks, exactly. And, until that, it's time for a culture change there, period. There's really no other way to say it. You can't sugarcoat it any other way. Jason Garrett's not the guy. He never will be.
And it's hard. We all understand that breaking up isn't easy.
Right.
Especially whenever there's hundreds of millions of dollars on the line and millions of dollars to be placed in egos and personalities and spotlight. Breakups are never easy. It's not even easy to unfollow people on Twitter anymore or on Instagram, because they know that you don't follow them anymore, so that awkward conversation is going to come. But Jerry Jones seems like a guy who would have that awkward conversation for the good of the team, for the good of the organization, for the good of the group. He would take that one awkward conversation and make it happen. He just hasn't been doing it. And I don't know if he sees hope, which is he buys into his own hype that he builds each year, but he has to at some point be sick of being disappointed. And if this Cowboys team turns it around under Jason Garrett's leadership, which, by the way, history says will not happen.
Not going to happen.
History says there's no chance of that happening.
Nope.
And I don't like to take big old leaps or big old stands, aside from Seattle -1 in the over 47 going into Cleveland. I told everybody on FanDuel that was the lock of all locks. It was plus 260. Let's just get rich. I don't like to take stands like I did with the New England Patriots being -16.5 on Thursday night against a rookie quarterback. I don't like taking these stands because, when I talk normally, I'm right. So whenever I have to do that, I have to really take care of it.
Right.
But I don't think Jason Garrett's going to be able to turn this team around from elite quarterback, perennial Pro Bowler, it looks like the first week, straight into this landslide down of terribleness into a pit of doom for the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think there's any chance he brings it back. He might. Jason Garrett might read a head coaching for dummies book in the next week or two and figure it out. But it seems like this is just what you got to deal with, Dallas Cowboys fans. This is going to be your year for the rest of the year. Incredibly average, probably in games, probably going to be close.
Yep.
It's going to be good for TV, which is good for the checks that Jerry Jones seems to only care about. This is what you're going to get, though, and they're just not going to be able to win it at the end. And you're just going to fall off the face of the earth. And when the playoffs come, Dallas Cowboys aren't going to be a part of it.
Yeah, and if they do kind of turn things around and really start humming on all cylinders, it's going to be the players that do it. I don't think it's going to be any scheme changes from Jason Garrett. And to your point about, it being tough to break up and stuff like that, that's absolutely true. But it's also not that tough to break up when you take a step back and you're like, wow, this other person stinks. Okay, good riddance. Let's be done with this. Let's wipe our hands clean of it.
Jerry Jones, the old adage is the best way to get over somebody is get under somebody else. And everybody thinks Lincoln Riley's going to be that person who's going to get under next. I don't know if Lincoln Riley wants that job. He's got a pretty cushy little thing going on in Norman. Do you want to go to Dallas where potentially the owner is getting involved in strategy and scheme, which is what everybody says Jerry does? I don't know if that Cowboys position, I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm sick of watching them stink, especially because I have to watch them.
Exactly.
That NFC East is...
And you have to talk about them.
Obligatory Cowboys talk in second hour here. I'll get an email if I don't talk about them. That's just a true statement. They're like, hey, Pat, this isn't your own show anymore. We are now corporate with a couple other people. So, yes, you can still be yourself, but you have to talk Cowboys because Cowboys move the needle. How much longer will imagine if the Cowboys were good, how much they would move the needle.
Oh, God.
Hey, Jerry, you know how much money you're making now? Do you know how much better our lives would be if we had to talk about your team and they were actually good? Like, imagine if they were a dominant team. That'd be a lot of fun. That'd be a lot of fun. Right now, the only thing that's dominant from the Cowboys is Tony Romo on CBS.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Romo is the best Cowboys export at the current time. Good for Tony Romo. What a great game he calls all the time.
Orlovsky said on Get Up this morning, guess who wouldn't have lost that game yesterday? The guy in the booth.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
Tony Romo.
I thought so, too.
Part of that decade of average.
Yeah, right.
Tony Romo's going to get in the Hall of Fame because of how good he is as an analyst.
You think so?
I remember watching Tony Romo play quarterback, and I used to think, oh, my uncle's playing quarterback out there. You know what I mean? I think he was good. I think he was a good quarterback. I think he's obviously very smart, but I think his physical abilities limited him to be as great as he possibly could. I think he studied. I think he was smart. I don't think Tony Romo was that great of a quarterback. I have no idea what Dak Prescott is. It appears he's not that great, but I have no idea if it's him, if it's Jason Garrett, if it's the offense, if it's a system, if it's this, it's that. It's just all I know is it's mediocre and it's average. And we have to talk about it. The NFC East, by the way, if the Eagles don't figure out how to play defense, they're not going to win any game.
No.
Carson Wentz is back, it looks like. He's playing football very well. Alshon Jeffrey's making plays for them. But that's secondary for the Eagles. I mean, Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen, and Stephon Diggs are on a vengeance tour after the public meltdown happened. Adam Thielen took a shot at the coach and the coaching staff and the strategy of the offense, saying, we got to be a balanced team. Kirk Cousins said, oh, my God, he took it personally, apologized to Adam Thielen on the Kirk Cousins show. In apologizing, he upset Stephon Diggs because of the compliments he gave Adam Thielen and not to Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs skips a day of practice, gets fined $200,000. Then I think they come back, have a kumbaya, decide that we have to change the way our offense is going. Yes, Dalvin Cook is incredible, but we got to let Kirk Cousins utilize his weapons. And since that Vikings offense has been an entirely new team, and they still won't give Stephon Diggs back his $200,000, if Stephon Diggs doesn't skip practice, and Thielen doesn't speak out at the press conference, and the Kirk Cousins show doesn't happen, and all this drama doesn't happen, Zimmer doesn't look himself in the mirror and say, we got to change something on offense. That offensive style is going to be the same old, where they're throwing the ball 10 times a game. I think the players in this team having a public meltdown saved the Vikings. With that being said, they shredded apart the Eagles. The NFC East still could be the Cowboys because of how bad the NFC East. Now the Redskins, don't let them get hot. Don't let the Redskins get hot. Don't let Danny Dimes get hot. But it's still the Cowboys and the Eagles for the NFC East for a playoff spot. And if the Eagles can't find a defense and the Cowboys still be mediocre, it's going to be one game and they're out. The NFC East, see you later. This team that's forced on national spotlight every single week, gone after 1 week of the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, the Eagles especially, a lot of people coming at me, with the Kirk Cousins stuff.
Yeah, by the way, do you want to say Kirk Cousins is good?
No, what I would actually like for Vikings fans to thank me for lighting a fire under his ass.
You think it was you?
I think I was a big part of it. I mean, we've heard that the Vikings, this show does play in their locker room. It's possible that Kirk Cousins heard it. He was like, you know what? I'd really like to shut that guy up. Because guess what? I mean, I'm going to keep saying it. They've played two pathetic defenses back-to-back, and he's done what he's supposed to do. I mean, this is why they paid him, because that's what they thought they were getting. Let's see what happens when the lights are on and it's a national game, not just a 1 o'clock game at home against a terrible defense.
By the way, he did look like an $84 million quarterback. He looked like an $85 million quarterback
yes,
this past weekend. Dropping balls in buckets, 2 50-yard bombs for him. Adam Thielen's happy. Stephon Diggs is happy. Zimmer's cracking jokes in the press conference. Winning cures all. And the Dallas Cowboys don't look like they're going to be doing any of that anytime soon. We got to get to a break. Another call on the other side. It's 11:14, about to be 11:15 on this beautiful Monday, October 14th. 1-833-622-3331. If you're like Mike with an incredible take, I appreciate Mike calling in with that Cowboys thing.
Yep.
That was beautiful. We can't wait to hear it. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here live in New York City. We're back in beautiful Indianapolis tomorrow. And then we're off to Palo Alto for the smart kids to play against the UCLA kids for Thursday Night Football on the ESPN channel. A lot of conversations today about how bad the refs are. We've been talking about it for a few weeks. Happy everybody else is chit-chatting about it. A lot of chat about the Cowboys stinking at football, which they do. Something's got to give down there with Jason Garrett. A lot of talk about, are the Chiefs broke? Are the Chiefs broke? Did Matt Patricia, the Indianapolis Colts, and now the Houston Texans give everybody else a blueprint on how to stop the Kansas City Chiefs? Man coverage, bring pressure up the middle, keep Patty Mahomes off the field. Pat Mahomes is only on the field for 5 minutes in the second half out of a 30-minute half. That's a good way to stop him. That's a good way to play football. And that was not a perfect game for the Houston Texans, by the way. They had turnovers, drops, missed extra point. They did not play a perfect game. Still got to win against the Kansas City Chiefs, where sometimes in the past you were thinking that to beat the Chiefs, you got to have a perfect game. The Houston Texans did not have a perfect game, and they got to win against the Kansas City Chiefs. Deshaun Watson played a completely different style of quarterback yesterday. Bought into the fact to win this game, we're going to have to keep the ball. Dink and dump a little bit. And by the way, is it dink and dump or dink and dunk?
I think it's dink and dunk, but dink and dump also plays.
Yeah, I don't, because Dan Orlovsky on Get Up this morning kept saying dink and dump, and I always thought it was dink and dunk.
I've never heard someone use dink and dump. I think it's dink and dunk. But, hey, he played quarterback in the NFL. I didn't.
I forget what he was saying. Whatever he was saying, I thought it was the opposite. But Deshaun Watson has proven that he's a great quarterback right now again. It looks like the Seattle Seahawks Deshaun Watson, where if you need him to take a shot to DeAndre Hopkins, he'll be able to do that. If you need him to keep possession of the ball and have an extension of the run play and kind of throw the ball short, keep the ball on the ground, he can do that. And then he can obviously run it in if he needs to, because Deshaun Watson is a freak athlete. Dabo Swinney said, this guy is the Michael Jordan of football. If you don't draft him, you're a dumb. It's all paying off for the Houston Texans. But if the Chiefs win again, does that mean the other team's coach needs to be fired? Because two teams from the AFC South have proven exactly how you beat them. Now, easier said than done, obviously, but that Chiefs team might be done. Is Andy Reid's season over? Who knows? We'll find out. Indianapolis Colts are still the favorites to win the Super Bowl in my eyes. They made zero mistakes yesterday. Zero mistakes. But, boy, that Houston Texans team is really coming together. Everybody said if that team could find an offense, they could be legit.
Oh, yeah.
We always knew they were going to have a good defense because J.J. Watt's down there. You always knew they were going to be able to handle themselves on the other side of the ball. But if their offensive side of the ball could ever protect the quarterback and potentially complete passes, that team could be good. Bill O'Brien traded away everything to get some players because he thought he was potentially on the hot seat, and now it's all paying off. The Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts are head-to-head in that AFC South, going to make for a great matchup down the line. I still like the Indianapolis Colts in the long run, but good for Houston and the Houston Texans. Friend of the show, J.J. Watt. Kid deserves a little bit of happiness. I'm happy they're getting that, especially against the Chiefs. Now, Doug Peterson, man who called the Philly special, man who was a quarterback in this game for a long time, has been an incredible head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles thus far. After getting slaughtered by the Minnesota Vikings, after their secondary gave up 5 touchdown passes to Kirk Cousins, comes out and says this today, completely out of character, but very much something that I love.
When talking about the game this upcoming Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys, he said, we're going to win that football game. I guarantee it. He's trying to punk Garrett.
Guarantee it, he says. Doug Peterson guarantees a win against the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones, how do you feel knowing that other teams in your division's coaches are now saying, I guarantee we can beat that sorry-ass team down in Dallas? Doug Peterson watched the film. He saw the same thing everybody else saw who had a little bit of a football IQ. An uninspired team, a team with no real personality, a team that doesn't know what they're supposed to be, a defense that says, admittedly, they're beating themselves. And Doug Peterson comes out and says, shots fired. I guarantee we beat them. That never happens anymore because the ability for that to backfire is massive. Doug Peterson will get crushed if he talks about that. Just like Zach Brown did of the Philadelphia Eagles, where he said Kirk Cousins is the weakness of the team.
Yep.
And then Kirk Cousins throws for 500 yards or whatever. After the game, they ask him if he wants to say anything. He says, next question. Where all he had to say was, hey, good game to Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Instead, He just decides to say, no, I'm not going to be adult about this thing. I'm just going to continue to bury him. I don't like what happened today, but I'm not going to say a compliment to Kirk Cousins.
Total stooge move.
And this is coming from you.
Yeah, I mean, it is, though. If you're going to talk like that and then he goes out there and absolutely torches you, you at least have to address it post.
You just have to, just very quickly, too,
right.
by the way. Just be like, yeah, he had a good game. I might have been wrong. He had a good game. And then it's over. Just like Richard Sherman, by the way, on this show, said about Baker Mayfield, yeah, that's my bad. I might have been wrong about something. I misremembered something. It's settled. It's over. Rest in peace to Dapgate. Doug Peterson guaranteeing a win, though, is awesome. I can't wait to hear what Jerry Jones says back to, well, if we still have the same head coach. That's awesome. Doug Peterson did that. That takes massive gut sack, by the way. Massive gut sack to step out and say that you're going to guarantee a win. I love that 49ers team, man. I just pivoted hard to the other side of the country. But that 49ers team, man, their front seven is a bunch of savages.
Ugh.
Then the secondary, you got Richard Sherman back there who's going to outsmart most quarterbacks, and you got a really good team. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Jimmy G hasn't played his best football, and they're still getting wins because Kyle Shanahan is a legit offensive wizard.
Savant.
He really is a guy that knows, like, well, okay, if we can't throw the ball, we'll run the ball then. We'll be able to do little plays where we get George Kittle loose. That 49ers team, completely undefeated, went into Los Angeles' house, being an underdog, by the way. There was another lock that I gave out. I mean, on this More Ways to Win show on FanDuel on Sunday morning, you might as well just pay pay attention, take a note out. I'm batting what might be 800 on that show. By the way, a lot of preparation goes into that. That 49ers team, not a word was said about their Monday Night Football game against the Browns other than Dapgate. The most fascinating thing to everybody after that blowout on Monday night over the Browns was whether or not Baker Mayfield dapped up Richard Sherman in a proper fashion or not. Now, granted, is that our fault because that's all we talked about too? Probably.
Maybe.
But that's the most fascinating thing about the Niners. And as a 49er, you have to be happy about that. Under the radar, undefeated, and it seems like they might be unbeatable at the moment. The only question mark right now on that entire 49ers roster is whether or not Robbie Gould can make a kick or not. Robbie Gould is historically one of the best kickers in NFL history, top 4 NFL field goal percentage of all time. Now, for some reason, he's fallen into a slump. Is it the rookie Holder that's holding for him? I would argue probably. Let's assume that might take a little bit to find his way. But when Robbie Gould starts kicking the ball the way Robbie Gould normally does, that defense or that team has little to no flaws. Will they be able to beat the Packers? I'm not certain. I think Aaron Rodgers has an incredible ability to beat savage defenses. But that 49ers team is so much fun to watch play football. The good defensive teams have turned into fun, must-see football because they just make the day miserable for the other team. And nobody's talking about those Niners. Nobody's talking about the 49ers. And I like them a lot.
Yeah, I mean, their defense looks just like it did when Harbaugh was there when they were going to NFC championships and Super Bowls, and it might even be better now. I mean, it's just, and then on the other side of the ball, obviously, I think Kittle is one of the best players in the NFL. He's like Gronk-like. I mean, he's an animal.
Well, Gronk said that he reminds him of himself. Gronk said he likes to work out. He likes the big moment and all that stuff. Incredible compliment. But I do believe the tall, athletic white is what George Kittle is.
Absolutely.
And in the particular set of rules that we have in the NFL now, the seam is much more wide open because there isn't a lot of headshots coming. So if you can find a freak athlete who's a bit bigger and can make those plays, I mean, that's a weapon for you, and Kyle Shanahan knows it. He knows that even if Jimmy G can't deliver the long ball, he can deliver a ball right to the tight end there. He knows that that defense is going to stop and make plays for them. And that 49ers team, much like the Colts, not being talked about a lot. Both very good teams and excited to see what happens. But tonight, on Monday Night Football, the Detroit Lions, Matt Patricia, Matty Stafford, Danny Amendola, and the boys travel into Green Bay, Wisconsin, in Curly Lambeau's field. The last time they were there, they won 31-0. Aaron Rodgers got hurt on the second play, but now the teams are vastly different. The Green Bay Packers have a heater of a defense, and Aaron Rodgers and and Matt LaFleur seem to be gelling for the first time this year. That offense with Aaron Jones and the running back seems to be an offense that can't be stopped. What will Matty Patricia and the super genius do to be able to contain that? Will Matt Stafford be able to move the rock against a defense that's revamped? We find out tonight on Monday Night Football. Ty Schmidt, owner of the Packers, how do you feel?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head again right there. The Lions, I read this morning, have given up the eighth most, their tackles have given up the eighth most pressures in the NFL this season, and they've played one less game than the Packers have. And the Packers have two guys who are in the top 5 in sacks in the NFL this year. If they can get to Stafford, and I mean, because he's already kind of banged up, I think it's going to be a long night for the Lions. And I've been saying constantly, I feel like every week is kind of like, is this going to be the week where the Packers offense finally explodes?
Last week it happened.
It did. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, obviously, I think a big part of it with Devontae being out again, you got to get Aaron Jones involved early and let him eat. That's just going to open up everything else. I would be very surprised if the Packers don't win tonight, but a lot of people are picking the Lions.
Well, Matt Patricia is a defensive savant.
Mm-hmm.
I got a chance to sit down in his office with Foxy right in front of the big old lion head. He's using dry erase on glass tables to draw up plays because at any given time it could be a beautiful mind and want to draw up a play. He was the guy that set the blueprint for the Colts against the Chiefs, which the Houston Texans used. Matt Patricia is a savant when it comes to defensive football. If anybody can stop this offense that LaFleur has put together, especially without the deep threat of Devontae Adams, let's assume it's Matt Patricia, but that offensive line could be a problem with this new revamped Packers defense. Going into the game, Evan Foxy, diehard, loyal Lion fan, has been there through and through. They have stunk. This year they look damn good. How do you feel going into Monday Night Football in Lambeau?
Feeling very optimistic. Like Ty said, I'm a little nervous. This is a game where the Packers go off, but if not, I think it comes down to the last possession. Whoever has the ball wins the game, and it kind of scares me because the Lions gave the Chiefs the ball at the end of the game, and look what happened. Can't give it to Rodgers. Got to hold on and manage the clock.
Yeah, a good idea would be keeping Rodgers off the field. Just like keeping Patty Mahomes off the field is a good idea. I don't know what's going to happen with them. I think the Packers get a win tonight, just because it feels like this Packers team is different. Aaron Rodgers feels different this year than he has in years past. He almost seemed jaded the last couple years. Every time he gave an answer, it didn't feel like he was excited to be there. This year, there's like a fresh energy. You saw it after week 1 against the Bears where he said, hey, we got a defense. That's all I think he's been asking for a long time.
Yep.
Give me a little bit of help on the other side of the ball so I don't have to do everything. Now that offense that he and LaFleur have put together and pieced together, by the way, I think that thing's starting to hit. Aaron Jones won't be waving to anybody because he got fined in a potential personal foul penalty. He's learned his lesson. After 4 touchdowns, there's no way he matches that performance. But I do think whenever you have that type of success, especially on a national stage, it can set you up for even more success because now you have confidence to know that you can do that and what you should do. Playing in Lambeau is not easy, especially under the lights. I'll be excited to see it, but I think the Packers win tonight. On the other side, we'll get the spread. We'll get everything like that. We'll give you some locks so we can all get rich off of this thing, and we'll finish off this incredible day with a couple calls and maybe some questions from the Twitter. Hashtag Pat McAfee Show Live if you want to be involved. 1-833-622-3331 for the phones. Let's have a beautiful Monday. You're listening to Pat McAfee Show. wish I could do this. I feel like I just stepped on the. I have to wait 10 seconds until I can talk. Probably right there, right now. Welcome back to Overreaction Monday. Yes, we have to deal with knockoff music because we don't have the rights to real music. So anytime you hear a knockoff banger, you're really going to let it breathe because it only happens once every blue moon on this show. $3 million, by the way, to get the rights to real music.
Mm-hmm.
We're working. Tonight, I might bet $3 million on Lions, Packers. Packers minus 3.5 this evening at Lambeau. Ty, you're saying lock it up.
Yeah, I like it. I'm going to take it. I usually stay away from betting on the Packers, but I don't know. Like we just talked about it last segment. I feel good about tonight.
Over-under is at 45.5. 67% of the money is on the Packers, and 67% is on the over. Should be a beautiful evening in Lambeau. I would assume that the minus 3.5 will be covered by the Packers this evening. I apologize, Foxy. That does not mean I'm anti-Lions. I just like the home field advantage in that last game against the Cowboys for the Packers. I think it sparked something inside that offense, inside that building. Everybody's talking about how much fun they're having. LaFleur might be finding his groove as a head coach, but tonight tells us a lot. Matt Patricia is a defensive savant, but there's a lot of banged up injuries. Nope. Banged up would mean injuries on the defensive side of the ball for the Lions this evening. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and who knows? I mean, because again, that could just be stuff that's I saw it on the bottom line this morning. A lot of guys questionable, but I'd like to think that primetime game. If a guy's kind of teetering, this is a huge game, division game. You'd think that they'd play, but we'll see.
All right.
I was feeling pretty optimistic going into this, Pat, but you've been on an absolute heater with your bets, so that does not make me feel good.
When I say this, I mean this. And I'm okay to talk about it because you don't get to enjoy a lot of these things.
No, you don't.
Right? Like whenever it's bad, I won't talk about, right now it's good. My bets right now have been good. So I'm going to enjoy this a lot. I'm like a pitcher that's throwing a no-hitter, but I'm walking around the clubhouse telling everybody, I'm like, yo, have you seen me pitching out there? I am just going to talk about it. It might end, but I like the Packers tonight minus 3.5. But I also like the Lions. I'm a fan of the Lions, but I do believe that the Packers get a big win tonight just because the way the game is set up. I have no idea what Matty Patricia's going to do with his big brain on the defensive side to kind of slow him down. But last week against the Cowboys, Aaron Jones got all the touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers was slinging the ball all over the yard, literally. And then that would open up for the run. If he's able to do that again, I mean, they're in trouble. Plus, the two Smiths getting to Matty Stafford could be a problem. I just like the Packers tonight, especially at home. But Matt Stafford has been the Packers' kryptonite in Green Bay. We're on very different teams, though. This is a very different team. Let's get to the phone, Zito. Zito said he needed me to talk to this guy. Zito, who is it?
We have Uncle Bucky from West Virginia. He saw Bigfoot.
What?
Uncle Bucky?
Yes, sir.
Is that Pat McAfee?
This is he, Uncle Bucky. Is this Uncle Bucky?
Oh, my God. Glad to be back on the Pat McAfee show again.
It sounds like a fake human, but I'm excited to hear what you're saying about Uncle Bucky. What's going on? You saw Bigfoot?
Yeah, man, I tell you what. I've been dating this girl for a few months now, and things are going real good, man. And for some reason, I thought maybe I'd take it to the next level and try to meet her parents, and she just didn't want to do it. And I just pushed her for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then all of a sudden she finally broke down and said, "Sure, we'll go meet my mama." Man, she put a blindfold on me and took me out in the woods after this cave. I tell you what, man, I've never seen nothing so ugly in my life.
Not great self-service where he's from.
Well, Uncle Bucky gave it a go. He had a lot of energy early, had the accent. Now, West Virginia people, I think that was too much of a sell on the accent. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, granted, the wild and wonderful whites of West Virginia don't paint West Virginia in a great light. There's not a lot of great things said about West Virginia, but the people of West Virginia are a wholesome bunch right there. And if they did see Bigfoot, I don't think they'd be yelling like that. I think they would just call in and say, "Hey, saw Bigfoot. Don't know what to tell you," and they would hang up immediately. The people of West Virginia are good people. Uncle Bucky there, he gave it a go.
It was admirable, but I mean,
Zito told me during the break, he's like, got a guy who saw Bigfoot. And I was like, where? He's like, on the phone. I'm like, let's do it.
I was very excited.
What was he trying to say there, that his mother-in-law was Bigfoot?
I believe so there. I didn't get the cells got cut off a little bit. It's kind of weird.
Do you think Uncle Bucky has any idea that this is an international show? And ain't nobody got time for his hack jokes about his mother-in-law being Bigfoot?
No idea.
Uncle Bucky, I ain't got time for your bull crap, dude. I ain't got time for that. Now, granted, he started out hot. I thought we were going to go somewhere special there.
He did.
Because there's a bunch of stuff Uncle Bucky could have talked about. Moonshining, lighting couches on fire at West Virginia, partying, the good old days. West Virginia got blown out by Iowa State. Maybe he could have talked about that. But instead, it was the mother-in-law's Bigfoot. Tonight, when you look yourself in the mirror, Uncle Bucky, think of a new character, come back again. We appreciate you a lot. Speaking of thinking of a new character, the more and more I think about this, the more and more I think Jason Garrett's fired by the end of the week. There's no way. He's not going to do it. Jerry, the only way we can change anything is if you're a Cowboys fan and you want actual change, you have to start challenging that Jerry Jones lost his it factor, which is what I've been doing. Jerry Jones has lost his savage thing. Just like the only way we're going to be able to change these refs is if we tell Roger Goodell that the way Alberto Riveron is handling officiating is a direct slap in the mouth of Roger Goodell.
He's insulting you. He's insulting your intelligence. He's laughing at you.
What's he think, Roger, that he knows the rules better than you and the other 32 billionaires do? Is Alberto Riveron saying right to Roger Goodell, I don't care what rules you make, we're going to enforce the rules we want to enforce? Is that how the NFL works, Roger Goodell? Just getting punked by one of the guys that works for you?
I don't know, Roger. I thought you were the commissioner.
What? Roger, I thought you were the judge, jury, and executioner. Turns out Alberto Riveron is. Who's affecting the game more, Roger Goodell or Alberto Riveron? Oh, Alberto Riveron. Final answer. Is he more important to the NFL than Roger Goodell? Is Alberto Riveron a much more important piece to the NFL operating in a fantastic way than Roger Goodell? Is Roger Goodell been bumped down a notch by the owners and have Alberto? Is he reporting to Alberto Riveron?
Wow.
Is Roger Goodell reporting to Alberto Riveron? Is that why Roger Goodell refuses to make a change at the reffing thing? Oh, wow. I didn't know that he was your daddy, Roger. I did not know that Alberto Riveron was now dad.
Wait until Goodell hears what Riveron's been saying around the water cooler, too.
Oh, my God. Oh, you make that pass interference review thing. We ain't going to overturn any of them. Roger Goodell thinks I'm going to do that. Get the hell out of here.
You think Goodell's going to do anything about it? What's he going to say to me?
And end segment. That's the only way that Roger Goodell could potentially make a change here, is he has to think that somehow he's being attacked, which, by the way, the NFL is under siege with these bad calls. And I've said this again before, and I'll say it again. The internet rarely agrees on things. Very, very, very rarely agrees on things. Jason Garrett's an average head coach. Everybody's checking the S box. Yep, agreed. And these refs are bad and worse than they've ever been before. Everybody's like, yep, agreed. Because it doesn't matter what team you are. It doesn't matter if you're on primetime television or if you're in the Suck Bowl. You're feeling as if you're getting screwed by these refs and this new officiating crew, which is headed by Alberto Riveron. It's sad. It's almost tough to watch. It is tough to watch. We have to watch because we got nothing else to do on Sundays.
No, what are we going to talk about if we don't watch it?
By the way, it is Joseph Smith, who's the Mormon guy. He's not their God. He's just a prophet.
Sorry, guys.
You said John Smith. You disrespected Mormons everywhere.
I'm not Mormon.
Austin Gawley is not going to be happy with what you're saying. I did a poll yesterday because the 2015 first and second overall picks of the NFL draft have seemingly potentially met the end of their days as starting quarterbacks. Jameis Winston went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Marcus Mariota goes to the Tennessee Titans. Here we are, 5 seasons in for both of them. And not a single answer has come from whether or not they are good or not. So I polled. Now, last week, Michael Lombardi said that he thinks Jameis Winston doesn't know what color jersey the Buccaneers are wearing. And I watched that game over in England this past weekend. He might be onto something.
Yeah.
That guy almost threw 7 interceptions. He threw 5. 2 of them were dropped. He almost threw 7 interceptions, which is, by the way, almost unheard of. Very difficult to do. And they still are somehow in games almost.
Yeah, I mean, they're lucky they didn't get beat by 50.
It doesn't make any sense, does it?
No.
Bruce Arians took that job strictly because he liked Jameis Winston. I don't think Bruce Arians knew how bad Jameis Winston had potentially become as a quarterback. They snuck that win in over there against the Los Angeles Rams. They lose to Danny Dimes because of a missed kick. But that was a pitiful performance by Jameis Winston. And Marcus Mariota finally gets benched whenever Titans fans have been looking for this for a long time. So I asked the question to the internet. All right, because this is the only way you can really view it.
Yep.
Let's try to put it in everyday terms. As opposed to viewing ourselves as NFL teams and NFL head coaches and GMs, which is impossible to do. You can't relate to those decisions that have to be made with billions of dollars sitting on your shoulders. But let's say you're playing backyard football. The team you're on's quarterback just got hurt. You look over on the sideline, and there are only two men who can replace him/her. You must pick one of these two men. Marcus Mariota or Jameis Winston, who are you picking? I got a lot of people tweeting me that they would quit. I got a lot of people tweeting me they go Wildcat and put themselves. That was not the question nor the poll. A lot of people told me they would choose to no longer play backyard football if those were their only options, but we had 52,000 people vote. Pretty good sample size.
Yeah, nice sample size.
58% say Marcus Mariota, 42% say Jameis Winston, and Marcus Mariota just started in a game where they scored 0 points against the Denver Broncos. It's crazy to me that those two guys who were so incredible in college, Marcus Mariota, one of the best college quarterbacks of all time at Oregon, Jameis Winston, absolutely incredible at Florida State whenever he was away from the crab shack and all the other stuff.
Right.
They've turned out to be absolute crap in the NFL, let alone the eating of the W, let alone of all the hopes of teams potentially being good and then them not being good. They just haven't been good quarterbacks. And when you start thinking about in recent history, the good quarterbacks in college haven't really shaped out in the NFL. You look at Marcus Mariota. You look at Jameis Winston. You look at Johnny Manziel. You look at Tim Tebow. You look at
Jamarcus Russell.
You look at, you can go through, the list goes on and on. You literally. Blaine Gabbert. You look at all of these players.
Tannehill, the guy who's replacing Mariota.
Ryan Tannehill. All of these good guys that were incredible in college just ain't worth a single damn in the NFL. So I would argue that if you're good in college, is that an immediate indicator that you're going to stink in the NFL? Well, no, because Andrew Luck was good, but he's out of the game. Patrick Mahomes, I guess, was good, but his team wasn't great. So Patrick Mahomes was good in college to an extent, but his team didn't win. He's been incredible.
You guys want to hear some more?
Yes.
Sam Bradford, Matt Leinart, Robert Griffin III, Troy Smith. Carson Palmer was good. I got to give him credit. And then also you want to throw in Baker Mayfield.
Well, it's too early to find out whether or not he stinks. I'm going to go to bat for him until at least the end of the year, and they figure that out. My guy, Pat White, wasn't really ever given a shot, but there's another guy who was one of the most electric human beings in college football. Never got enough credit because we went to West Virginia, and it was during the same time as Tim Tebow. I think if the current offense in the NFL was running during the time of Pat White, he would have had a very big-time career, but in college, he was electric. Heisman candidate. In the NFL, never really panned out. All these quarterbacks we just listed off stink in the NFL. Why? Why does that happen?
With Jameis especially, I think, and not to come down on him too hard, but he obviously being confident is a huge part of being quarterback, and so is short-term memory. I think he legitimately forgets that he just threw an interception. Like, I think he's just like, oh, whatever. He thinks he can make every throw on the field. Newsflash, you can't, okay?
I think he can, by the way. I think he has the arm talent. I don't think he knows when to throw it. That's the problem. Like, whenever you're throwing into coverage that you're not supposed to, I think that's the biggest problem with all these young quarterbacks. And I think maybe the success is the problem. They have success where they probably don't study a lot of film. They just out-athlete people. And in college, I've gotten a chance to watch a lot of college football players. A lot of them are not good at football, especially on the defensive side of things. So quarterbacks can kind of fall into this comfort level, this contentness where they can just roll the ball on the field, show up, and dominate. Where in the NFL, you got defensive coordinators being paid millions of dollars to draw up schemes and strategies to disguise coverages to make you look stupid. Plus the people you're playing against, it's an all-star game every single weekend. So whenever you get this incredible amount of success in college and you're getting pushed around, getting pushed, and you have your own little security team around you at all times, and you're eating at the finest places, and you're shaking the most hands, and you're doing all these interviews, you can kind of get this contentness whenever you're just a college kid, when really you haven't earned a damn thing. And that's what Richard Sherman was alluding to with Baker Mayfield during the handshake. Even though he misremembered, he was like, I don't care what you did in college. This is a whole different league. That message, even though it was in the completely wrong context, is a real one. The NFL is a completely different place than college, and with all these names we just listed, it's making me wonder. There's a dearth of quarterbacks that are good, and I don't know if you have one, you hang on to them, and you just pray for that, but maybe we got to start looking at bad quarterbacks in college to see if they'll be a good quarterback in the NFL.
Do you think Mariota's missing Matt LaFleur?
Were they good with LaFleur?
I mean, he was more successful last year than he was this year. I mean, not great, which is one of the reasons why I kind of questioned why the Packers hired him. But, I mean, their offense stinks. It's terrible.
That offense has Taylor Lewan. They got a $40 million left guard from the Rams, which the Rams are a completely different team now without that center and guard. That team seems to stink, too. And McVay, although he's saying all the right things at the podium, you can kind of see his soul being sucked out of him.
Yep.
You can kind of see the happiness coming out of that incredible hair and incredible beard of Sean McVay, especially with all those big personalities. When things start going bad, they continue to get that way. So maybe Mariota misses LaFleur. Maybe that's the case. But I think whenever you start to lose, it can just become contagious. It can almost become a cancer in the building where people start looking for their way out because they only have so many years in the NFL, and things just compile on top of each other. Just like this Odell Beckham thing. People are saying he's getting traded now out of Cleveland. Got traded from the Giants to Cleveland, got paid. Is he going to get traded out of Cleveland now? Who's going to take him? Maybe the Raiders? Do the Raiders want to deal with another potential big-time headache? Although Odell has been handling himself in a very professional fashion while things have been going bad. Dropped a pass yesterday, which Odell Beckham does not do.
2.
Really?
Yeah. He's had quite a few drops this year. And granted, they're not perfect passes, but they're passes typically that you expect him to catch.
I said last week that Odell Beckham has been handling himself with incredible composure, and he's a top 2 wide receiver, depending on who you ask. I got a lot of backlash from that. People do not think Odell Beckham is a premier wide receiver. Insanity to me.
Home run hitter.
Absolute insanity to me. But he's been handling himself in a professional fashion. Now they're talking about him being traded. GM says, no, he's not. But that's always the way you're going to talk if you're trying to trade a guy. Who knows? The NFL never, ever stops. The NFL never, ever sleeps. And on these overreaction Mondays, we can take away a few things. Alberto Riveron thinks he's Goodell's daddy.
Yep.
And Goodell's just letting him get away with murder. The Chiefs are potentially never going to win again. Same with the Cowboys until they get rid of Jason Garrett. The Colts still in the driver's seat for the NFL Super Bowl. I like the way the Houston Texans are playing football. And tonight, the Packers and Lions meet in an NFC North showdown that people should love. Packers -3.5. Go ahead and hammer that. We can't thank you enough for watching and listening. You're the absolute greatest. This has been the Pat McAfee Show.